Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're going to be talking about everything Palantir, NVIDIA, talking about the broader market, especially as we have some of these big AI stocks that are testing critical support levels right now. Also, NVIDIA is going to be reporting their earnings after the bell on August 28th. That's Wednesday. And right now we see the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ that slightly cool off due to the fact that we're seeing these major tech stocks that are just cooling off slightly. Now, a lot of anticipation is ahead of us with NVIDIA that I think is going to be a big key player on how the market is going to respond. We're going to be talking about how does Palantir get involved with this, what we're personally seeing in the short term, and how that compares to the long term. You can have bullish and bearish positions depending on that time frame. We're going to be breaking this down and getting into all the critical details you need. Also, I'm trying to become more active on Twitter because I want to connect with you guys more. If you want to get more communication with me, check out my Twitter down in the description, and that way we could talk a little bit more. Of course, get into the video, hit that like button, subscribe. Talking about Palantir Technologies, closes at 30.85, and this is that zone that we talked about before. And when we saw this zone, when I anticipated this zone to be tested, I said this is likely going to be a foundational level of support that will start to be formulated. Now, not 100% foundational in the fact that we have not been in the 30s for a long time. However, that $30 area, and especially here you saw this in the 29s, that was a resistance point for PLTR. After we saw the beginning of August, a large pullback in the whole market, we saw Palantir coming down here to 23 before launching up all the way to 33 here, nearly 10 bucks. Now, a little bit of a cool off here. What we are seeing are some bearish articles that are coming out, and I want to talk about what my personal opinion is regarding this, because you see this article here talking about Palantir time to sell. Now, one thing that I want to pinpoint is this is really highlighting in the short term. You can see this comes from Bears of Wall Street. They're going to be posting bearish articles, but it's important to understand their opinion and also understand what can be happening here in the next few months, especially with interest rates from Powell's speech last Friday. Now, what we see here for Palantir talking about it's extremely overvalued at its current price. We know that. Palantir is always trading at a high valuation. Right now, it trades at a very high valuation, and they say here that the downside could be nearly 50%. Now, this is not to get everybody all up in arms. Like I said, this is to understand the multiple different types of perspectives that you can take at this. And looking at the short term right here, talking about the good and the bad, the ugly. Now, one thing that they like to pinpoint here in this article is with the earnings report, even though that was positive right here, they highlight that, we were only seeing commercial revenue that actually only increased 6% quarter by quarter. You're seeing commercial customer count, it looks great year over year, but quarter over quarter, it looks only 13%. Now, talking about the annual increase, the large fluctuation of customer counts that they're talking about, they're pinpointing AIP. And AIP has been incredibly successful for PLTR in terms of expanding into that commercial sector. But one thing that they're saying here is that the stock price continues to make more sense. And they're using all these different types of models. And specifically, what they're looking at with the free cash flow model and under their forecast right here, their case for terminal value and the enterprise value is at about $36.75 billion. Now, Palantir right now sits at about $70 billion in terms of market cap. The major downside on the bearish thesis that they're talking about is really that forward price to earnings ratio is nearly 100%. However, we've seen Palantir that's traded with a high valuation pretty historically. The stock could continue to trade above its technical support level of $30 per share, and they still are highlighting that. One thing that I want to pin out here and why risk assessment is becoming a little bit more in the forefront in terms of volatility for this individual stock is due to the fact that Palantir is testing this $30 level of support. If we see any type of changes in the market, big market news, NVIDIA, something that does not do well with their earnings, we could see a pullback in the AI stocks where Palantir could lose this $30 level of support in the after hours. It's at $30.79 right now. So we're going to be keeping a really close eye on it for you guys. Switching here to the long-term side. And that's where I am personally bullish. Talking about here a great article using this regression analysis, talking about a 65% upside coming here from Pinnacle Investment Analysis by 2027. Talk about here, we know Palantir has outperformed the S&P 500 Quarter two performance, the last like 5-6 quarters have been incredibly lucrative for Palantir. And with the thesis here and the overview that we've seen, all the core strengths that we've talked about with PLTR, the different types of programs that they have, getting involved into the commercial side of things. We see this with the customer account, commercial customer account specifically on the trajectory here, year over year, continuing to grow. And especially with these strategic partnerships, we've seen Palantir that has really diversified its clientele, which I think will really help lead to prosperity down in the future. And not getting into all the technical details here to really bore you too much, but looking here at this 3-year price target model. Now, of course, you do need to take that with a grain of salt. These are models that we're looking at and looking at these different prospects over the next few years. But utilizing this model right here, they're predicting Palantir could possibly get to about $52 per stock. We see here 52.66, which translates to a 65.7% upside potential by 2027, given the solid growth potential and the current upward momentum. Talking about here a buy and hold strategy in terms of the long term. So where I sit personally here in terms of the short term, I think Palantir does have some time to cool off and a little bit of a selling pressure. Just looking at the chart and how fast Palantir has raised up. But once Palantir does come back down, more attractive prices, I think there will be that opportunity here, and I don't disagree with 52.66 in terms of price per share by 2027. I think that is incredibly attainable. And the technical take and looking at this specifically, in conclusion, Palantir really is that bet, number one, on, of course, their business model, but number two, the bet on AI in particular, and finding what people are calling what is the next NVIDIA. And where we see NVIDIA, where the market is right now, like I said, losses for the big tech as S&P 500 and NASDAQ lower. NVIDIA comes down 2.2%, Microsoft 0.8%, Amazon 0.9%, Meta 1.3%, Tesla 3.2%, la-da-da-da-da. We're seeing some tensions that are starting to rise across the world. These are continuing to rise. Oil prices are starting to increase. We are seeing 10-year Treasury yields rising, kind of hanging around that 3.8%. Market did have an incredible 2 weeks, a 2-week winning streak. And that's important to also understand because now we're going to be looking at PCE data that will be coming out on Friday. That's the expenditures data, and that is going to give a, I want to say, confirmatory, of course, not over 100%, but basically on a theoretical level, the interest rate cuts will be coming in September. And it will be interesting. The market's been hoping for those interest rate cuts, but what is that going to actually mean in terms of changes within the economy and within the markets, and especially talking about momentum. And earnings now are looming for NVIDIA. Let's finish it up with this. NVIDIA, we see price targets that are continuing to rise. Citi analysts raise their price targets. They raise it to about 150. What we do have analyst estimates for NVIDIA quarter two. Analysts are expecting sales of $28.7 billion or 112% increase with earnings of 65 cents per share, which should be 139% higher than the year prior's quarter two. Like I mentioned, Citi came out here with a $150 price target while maintaining its buy rating, and NVIDIA stock is in a cut base and is split adjusted all-time high. We see this fuel run behind what's been happening, and one big thing that a lot of people I think are going to be pointing their eyeballs to is its outlook for its new AI chip, Blackwell. Now there are reports, of course, of the delay of this chip, which we saw a little bit of market reaction in there, but not a ton. But a lot of eyeballs will be pinpointing towards this, and I think if we get successful and positive news, NVIDIA possibly could be testing that run-up, and especially the fuel behind this AI demand does not have a chance of slowing down if NVIDIA does report amazing quarter results and continues to hang out with the top rated stocks. That's all but I have for you guys. I want to know, what is your opinion? Where do you see Palantir in the short term? Do you see a little bit of a correction like I'm personally anticipating, but still bullish in the long term? And with NVIDIA, how do you think this is going to affect the market and what's going to be happening over the next few months? Peace out. Take care. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later. And of course, have a wonderful day.